In partnership with Redpoint Ventures, we are at Nasdaq's MarketSite celebrating the Redpoint InfraRed 100 list. My name is Christina Ayanian, and joining me today is CEO of Jellyfish, Andrew Lau. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, you've said that Jellyfish is doing for engineering teams what Salesforce did for sales. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. I know it sounds kind of trite, but when I started my career 25 years ago, people really didn't understand how sales worked. It was this black box, didn't understand how, if you invested in salespeople, how it was going to generate revenue. It seems logical today, but 20 years later, college kids know how those things fit together. But today, software engineering is kind of like where sales was 25 years ago, where it's a place we know we have to invest. We know innovation is going to happen there. These are the people that are going to make the products actually happen that we sell, but yet we don't really know how to actually figure out how we put money in and how return comes out. And for our goal in this is to provide that visibility, that metric, that connective tissue that really brings those two pieces together so companies can confidently actually invest in their engineering teams.
There's so much growth and so much opportunity potential.
Yeah, it's absolutely, what do they say? Every company's a software company today, and it's absolutely true. And so while it used to be a sideshow, a couple nerds like me in the corner, no longer the case. It is the engine of businesses. And if you can't understand how your engine of business works, how are you going to actually make sure it succeeds, right?
Now, what exactly does Jellyfish do?
Oh, it's a great question. So we tie into the tools the engineers already use, the Jiras, the GitHubs, the GitLabs, and we help the companies get insight to help understand where their teams are spending their time, where they're stuck, where they're unhealthy, where teams need help, right? So it's a tool to provide insights and visibility around how they should direct their team, reallocate their resources, and actually how to support them along their development process.
It's such a complex sphere, and you're really making that efficient and seamless.
And simplifying it, right? Like, because the tools that are necessary and the metrics that are necessary for an engineer to do the job are actually really different from what a business needs. They're both tangled together, but our goal is to actually take things from the actual engineering side, translate them to the business, and take them from the business side and translate them to the engineering team. Make sure those two teams are actually operating in concert through our tools.
Absolutely, and they're working together. Why do you think engineering leaders are the business leaders of tomorrow?
Oh, well, I said it earlier. So if engineering is the engine of companies for the future, if every company is a software company, well, if it's 40% of OpEx, the leaders today are actually the ones that can actually help guide the ship. Take the business to a new place, develop new products, point the company to more efficiency, point the company to new innovation that helps them tackle new markets. Well, the person that actually understands that most, he or she is the engineering leader, right? And so it's no longer just a fixed cost. It's actually a strategic imperative to actually understand how to make that department, that function, that core of the business sing, right? And so those are the leaders that can do it.
Right, they're really the foundation of the business.
Absolutely.
And they're the ones that are building it from ground up.
Yeah, and it's no longer like, hey, here's a fixed band we're gonna spend. It's instead like, well, let's be creative. Let's think about where the gaps are, where we can actually devote some more resources over here to bring new innovation, tackle new markets, right? Change the way a company executes, and you need that kind of innovation insight coming from that team.
That's actually an interesting point because software engineers are now, or software engineering is now described as both an art and a science.
Yeah.
How can software engineering really cultivate creativity and propel company growth?
Oh, now absolutely, it's an art, right? Because we're inventing things as software leaders, right? Software teams are actually inventing things. Individuals are inventing things. Now, at the same time, it's also a science, though. When we're actually putting tens of millions, hundred millions of dollars into actually teams, it actually has a system and a rhythm that it has to run by, right? So you actually need to actually manage both sides of it. You need to actually make sure your trains are running on time, make sure things are actually going to hit when they need to, but at the same time, you need to protect and actually leave time for creativity. And so how those two things fit together is that I don't think creativity should be a thing that we magically wish and hope for. It's a thing in innovation. We need to invest in it. And the way you invest in it is you protect their time. But you can't protect their time unless you know where your resources are actually going, right? So we know we need to spend X% towards maintaining certain features. We know we need to actually spend this new product line, but we also need to protect time actually doing like some new innovative creative activity. And the way you do it is not just saying, hey, I wish and hope, but instead we actually set up guardrails and measure and target to make sure we leave time for that creativity in place.
That's really interesting. Now, shifting focus a little bit, board of directors are really often focused on top-line business metrics. How do you think about that divide between what the software engineering needs are and their strategy and bridging that with what the strategic business decisions are?
Yeah, well, I think look, when I look at this, it's exactly what I said earlier, right? Business and engineering often speak different vocabulary. but they're actually at the same goals, right? We all want to make our company successful. We want to make them profitable. We want to generate more revenue. We want to actually innovate new things, right? And so the role in this for both engineering leaders and Jellyfish here to support them is to try to translate between the two, right? So they are not at odds. In fact, they're actually racing towards the same goal. But what we actually help do is help engineering leaders tell their story better to their boards. We also are able to actually take board imperatives and bring it back to the engineering team and make sure we're actually lining up in the same investment, right? So if you've got a multitude of product lines, a board might direct you to actually invest in certain areas or new ways to market. We want to make sure the team's actually reflecting that as well. And so you need to translate in both directions. And that's what engineering leaders and Jellyfish do to actually make them successful.
You're connecting those
Absolutely.
vocabularies.
Absolutely.
So what's next for Jellyfish?
Oh, gee, it's an exciting time. I mean, look, it's a time where the nature of software engineering is changing. I mean, I'm sure you're reading so much about generative AI and how companies are actually, the nature of how software engineers do their job is going to change tremendously in the next 5-10 years, right? And so our role in this is actually to help guide companies. Like, we have the benefit of seeing across many, many companies and seeing how the best of the best execute, right? And so what we're trying to do actually is help them refine and bottle up the goodness and actually bring new leading edges to practice and lead our customers and partners forward in that way. And so for us, it's actually to guide the industry as it actually reshapes over the next 5-10 years as we kind of embrace further more software and actually this new world of AI.
And as Nasdaq says, you're rewriting tomorrow.
Exactly, all day long.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to welcoming you back.
Awesome.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thanks, Andrew.